Hello, good evening. My thought for today, my second one, is one of a fairly important issue here, both for those that have a love for firearms, those that have been brought up, like many Americans who have taught their sons and daughters, and they themselves have been taught how to handle firearms. Here in the Philippines, it's just recently been announced, 4 days ago in fact, a German national, allegedly, and I have to use the word allegedly because you're always innocent until proven guilty. And yet it's been reported on GM and many other news medias about a German foreigner was supposedly in fear of his enemy, as he described them to the police officer, who was helping him depart on an aeroplane at an airport in General Santos, I believe, is the region this incident happened. What actually has been reported is that initially the German somehow managed to get hold of the firearm that the police officer who was helping him took it away from him and shot the tricycle driver. Having done so, he then, in a scuffle, shot the police officer, who in turn shot the foreigner and was able to overcome, even with the wounds that he'd suffered. The police officer was able to seek assistance and arrest him. Now, that foreigner allegedly would be facing possible aggravated homicide or something to that effect. In other words, what we might call attempted murder. Very, very serious offence. And it highlights the fact that here in the Philippines, you go into malls, police officers walking around with guns on their hip. There are security guards with pump-action shotguns, some maybe even more efficient, just handguns. But they're there for a reason. They're there to protect us, the general public, and they're there to protect themselves and the store owners from possible attack by unwanted criminal gangs. Not saying that they roam around everywhere, but they clearly are. In Asia, it's not uncommon. In fact, it's more than uncommon. It's so everywhere. Singapore, everywhere you go, there's armed guards. You see it especially outside gold or diamond dealers, precious gems, and even in just plain department stores. And we need to remember that they are there as a form of public safety. But what I'm really talking about is that during my 10 years here in the Philippines, I've come across quite a few foreigners who are of the belief that somehow they're special. Somehow they're able to circumvent the law here in the Philippines. And that is, the law clearly states that, number one, you have to be a Philippine citizen. You have to be a clean record. You have to have an age of 21 years or more. You also there are many, many requirements of stable background, stable place of residence, a form of income, a place of work. All of these things are required to obtain a gun license. Now, it doesn't happen automatically. You will be vetted by the PNP, and therefore it's not guaranteed, just like it is in Australia. You can apply for a gun license, but whether or not you will get one is another thing. But here there's a misconception by many foreigners that they've had words with the local PNP and that's okay. They have a letter saying it's okay. I can now own a pistol, or I can own a machine gun, or whatever. And again, if his wife owns one, she still has to comply to get a license for that gun. And when I say that gun, any firearm, any type of firearm, individually must be individually licensed in the name of a Philippine citizen. And therefore, people who will say, well, it's my wife's. Now, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to say, the gun is owned by my wife, not for my use. It's hers, for her protection. Now, of course, why would she need it as her protection? Is she a multimillionaire? Is she dealing in gems and gold and worried that there's going to be a home invasion? I don't think so. And I don't think the Philippines government or barangay captains or mayors are going to issue you with any form of assurance that what you're doing is legal. Because at the end of the day, those officials who claim to have given maybe a blind eye letter to these people is hogwash. It really is. And I say this because they don't have to be American to have done that, to have it in their mind that somehow it's okay to have a firearm. We've recently had local elections here, and you will notice that many of the local police and the sort of, I would call the military kind of police, with their fully automatic rifles, stand on checkpoints just for that purpose, to make sure that there are not people with bad intentions wandering around with firearms. In fact, there's a total prohibition in the sale of firearms during that period. And you can't get round it by saying, well, I'm fixing a gun, or I'm buying parts for a gun. That really, how can you be buying parts for a gun when in fact you don't have the ability to obtain a license? You're not a gunsmith. You're not a person who is a Philippine citizen. And I understand that a lot of Americans miss the feeling of having their favorite gun. And it's not for bad things. It's just a hobby. It's a wish to own and bear arms. It's in the Constitution. It's in the Bill of Rights in America. And to have to come to a country such as the Philippines or anywhere in Asia and be deprived of that, I suppose, a fundamental right of many Americans, all Americans, I should say, must feel very restricted. So my advice to many of you foreigners, and also especially Americans who think that owning a firearm here is maybe okay as long as you don't tell anyone. Well, guys, you put yourself at risk of being deported. You put yourself at risk of being in jail. And why give yourself an opportunity, if you get a little hot under the collar, to lash out and be forced to use one of those illegal guns that you possess? Not a good thing. And the idea that the German allegedly shot these two people, clearly, with a service revolver, shows you how even the most sane individual can finally, for some reason, lose his mind and go and seize a gun from someone who is legally and lawfully able to operate and handle a gun. So guys, please don't risk your stay. As my mother used to say, loose lips sink ships. Don't advertise that you've got these things when you all know it's illegal. My advice is return it, give it in, or just give it to the local gun shop. No questions asked. Because nothing's worth your freedom here in the Philippines when so much can happen. And who wants to ruin one's stay here in the Philippines? Nobody. And I thank Stephen from Philippines through the eyes of an expat for highlighting the issue, because we need to know these things. We need to be jolted into reality sometimes. You know, barangay captains have a reason to have guns, but they still have to follow the law. All of these people have to follow the law, but the law is quite clear. Foreigners cannot own, possess, or have in their presence a firearm in their own right. And don't think you're fooling anybody by saying, well, it's owned by my wife or my girlfriend. Not a good do. That's my thought for this evening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you take note, because we all want to be safe. We all want to feel that we're doing the right thing. I'm not a holier than thou, but it's the talk of the town at the moment. We don't want people to think that foreigners own guns. We don't want to think that foreigners would be that stupid as that German guy allegedly has been. So if you like this, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Bye now.